There's one line in this movie that stops the entire theater cold. Spider-Man looks at the villain and says, "You are Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and I am both." In that single sentence, everything you thought you knew about this hero falls apart. I just walked out of the premiere of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I need to tell you exactly what happens, what works, what doesn't, and why one performance in this film might be the best thing Marvel has done in years. I just got back from the premiere of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and honestly, I've been sitting with it for a while trying to figure out how to talk about this one. So let's get into it. What worked, what didn't, what's new, and whether it actually earns its place next to the Spider-Man movies that came before it.
Jean, I'm here to help you.
You put me here.
I know, and I'm sorry about Sarah, and I'm sorry that I got it so wrong.
First, a quick reset for anyone who hasn't followed the last few films closely. Spider-Man Brand New Day is the fourth solo outing for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, the filmmaker behind Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. It's officially the 38th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it picks up directly from where Spider-Man No Way Home left off. If you remember that ending, Doctor Strange cast a spell that erased every memory anyone ever had of Peter Parker, his friends, his loved ones, the entire world. Nobody remembers who he is anymore. He saved everyone, and in return, he lost everyone. That's the emotional wound this new film is built on top of. Here's what happened when I actually sat down in that theater.
So do you.
Here we go.
The movie opens with a tanker sequence Spider-Man in the middle of a full-scale action set piece before the story even properly begins. And right away, you notice something different about how this film is shot. The slow-motion work here is genuinely next level. When you're watching it on a big screen, these shots aren't just stylish flourishes, they carry weight. They make you feel the physical toll of being Spider-Man in a way the earlier Holland films didn't really attempt. Once the story kicks in, we follow Peter as someone who is now fighting crime full-time, alone, in a city that has no memory of him. That isolation is the through line of the entire movie. He's helping everyone, saving everyone, and getting absolutely nothing back. No recognition, no relationships, no support system. That's a genuinely dark place to put a hero who used to be defined by his friendships. Now, let's talk about the villain, because this is where the film takes its biggest swing. Sadie Sink, who most audiences know from her role in Stranger Things, plays a character whose identity Marvel kept locked down for over a year. At the Los Angeles premiere just days before release, the secret got out. She's playing a version of Jean Grey, a major character pulled from Marvel's X-Men comics, now being folded into the mainline Marvel Cinematic Universe. For context, if you're not familiar with the comics, Jean Grey is traditionally one of the most powerful telepathic and telekinetic beings in Marvel's mutant world. Someone whose power is so overwhelming, it has, in different comic storylines, both saved and nearly destroyed everything around her. Bringing a character like that into Spider-Man's story, rather than a dedicated X-Men film, is a deliberate signal from Marvel about where the franchise is heading, especially with Avengers Doomsday, the next massive crossover event arriving just months later in December 2026. What struck me watching Sink's performance is that this isn't a cartoonish villain. She plays someone whose power comes from a fractured mental state and a personal loss, someone who is, in her own way, just as alone as Peter is. That parallel is what gives the film its emotional spine. Two people, both isolated, both carrying grief, ending up on opposite sides of a fight neither of them really wanted. The supporting cast brings real weight too. Jon Bernthal returns as Frank Castle, the Punisher, a character Marvel fans will know as a brutal, no-nonsense vigilante who operates far outside the usual superhero rulebook, making him an unusual but effective ally for Spider-Man in this story. There's a gunfight sequence involving his character in the climax that stands out as one of the rawer, more grounded action beats in the film. Mark Ruffalo also returns as Bruce Banner, the Hulk. though his appearance is limited mostly to what's already been shown in trailers, so audiences shouldn't expect an extended Hulk-centric subplot. One connection to the wider Marvel universe comes through in a smaller way, a reference tied to Black Widow's sister, delivered through what amounts to a video call moment rather than a full appearance. It's a light touch, not a major crossover moment, and some viewers might wish the film leaned harder into these universe connections rather than keeping them brief. Now here's the part that's going to resonate with anyone who's followed Peter Parker's story since Homecoming. Across the earlier films, we watched him evolve from an eager teenager desperate to prove himself, to someone forced to grow up fast under enormous pressure. This film continues that evolution, but from a place of loss instead of ambition. Because nobody remembers him anymore, there's a genuinely affecting scene involving Zendaya's MJA conversation, where she has no memory of their history together, and Peter has to sit with that. That's where the film finds its most human moment, more than any fight scene. On the action side, there is no half measure here. The fight choreography, particularly a sequence that plays out almost entirely through web shooter combat, is some of the most inventive Spider-Man action put on screen in this franchise. It's clear a huge amount of care went into designing these sequences to feel different from what's come before. Where the film loses a bit of momentum is in some of the quieter connective tissue between action beats. A handful of scenes feel like they're marking time rather than building tension. And the story itself is fairly simple in its bones. What elevates it is the execution and the performances, not necessarily narrative complexity. There's also a tonal choice worth mentioning. The film includes a genuinely well-executed comedic sequence, a lighter beat that lands well and gives the audience room to breathe between the heavier emotional material. It's a smart structural decision, and it's the kind of moment that should translate well regardless of the language or region the film is watched in. So where does this land compared to the rest of the Holland trilogy plus this new chapter? Personally, of the 4 films, Homecoming still holds up as the strongest overall experience. That one had a tighter, more contained story. This new film ranks just behind it for me, ahead of Far From Home and No Way Home in terms of the emotional and technical craft on display, even if the story itself doesn't reinvent the wheel. But here's the thing, this is a film built for the theater, in a proper cinema with the sound design and the scale of these action sequences. The experience genuinely elevates material that might read as fairly straightforward on paper. If there's one piece of constructive criticism, it's this: the film could have used a bit more time letting certain relationships breathe, and there was room to lean further into the wider Marvel Universe connections, rather than keeping them brief. When the villain's powers are eventually unlocked in full, it's one of the film's biggest crowd reaction moments, and honestly, I wish we'd gotten a little more of that scale earlier in the runtime. My honest final read: if you're planning to watch this in theaters, it's absolutely worth the ticket, especially for the action sequences and the emotional core between Peter and the people who no longer remember him. Just don't walk in expecting it to reinvent the genre. Walk in expecting a well-crafted, emotionally grounded Spider-Man story, and you'll likely walk out satisfied. Go in with sky-high expectations of it topping Homecoming though, and you might leave a little underwhelmed. Be honest. Do you think Marvel folding X-Men characters like Jean Grey directly into Spider-Man's story, instead of a separate X-Men film, was the right call? That's where opinions are going to be divided, and I genuinely want to hear where you land on it. If you enjoyed this review, do me a solid subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel before Avengers. Doomsday comes out, and every single one of you counts. Let's get there before Doomsday. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about this one and when you're planning to watch it.